Hey, Tiffany, and welcome to Voice Notes from the Organized Homeschool. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast and to chat and learn about you and your homeschool so you can teach us all the things that you have going on. So, before we get started, can you introduce yourself? Tell us about your background, tell us about your homeschool, your kids, anything you feel comfortable sharing. Just we'll start there and then we'll go from there.
Hi, Erica. I am so excited to talk to you about homeschooling and our journey and our lifestyle and why we made the decision, what our routine is, all the things. But to start out, of course, my name is Tiffany. I am a mom of two girls, ages 7 and 3. We are a Florida family, so we love doing all things outdoors. We love the beach. We love exploring the natural springs and all the state parks. We are big hikers. We tend to hike in the fall months when it's not so hot, but we are very outdoorsy people. We are going into our second year of homeschooling. I will be homeschooling a second grader and then lightly introducing some play-based learning styles for my 3-year-old. A little about myself is I do not have a background in education. We are a first generation homeschooling family. I was a corporate mom, and after spending kindergarten, we just decided that that is not the way that we want to educate our child, and it's just not what we wanted for our family. We just wanted something different, and we had to make a change. So far, so good. We've definitely learned a lot through the last year. We've made changes, we've pivoted. It was definitely a learning year, but going into the second year, I feel so much more confident about my abilities to educate, our ability as a family unit. We are so much more bonded and closer, and it's just been a great thing. And that's it for now.
Yes. Okay, Tiffany, so good. I can't wait to hear more about your first year and then your plans for your second year. I'm so excited. Can you start off by going a little bit deeper into your why? So you mentioned like it just wasn't, the kindergarten wasn't the way that you wanted your child to be educated. Can you share a little bit more about your why? Because I think there's definitely something there that I want to know more about. And then this piece about the learning year, like your first year being a learning year, that is so real. We are finishing our first year too. So we're like in very similar spaces. And my son is going into first grade, so year behind in terms of grade level as your daughter. And then my other son is 1 year old. So, I mean, I'm just going to be reading to him all day, basically, and letting him play and do that type of stuff. But so, somewhat similar space, but both going into our second year of homeschooling. So, like, let's talk about the learning year. Like, what did that look like? What were your big lessons? Just anything you want to share, and feel free to go on. Don't feel like you have to rush through this if it takes you a few minutes, because there's so much that learning that comes in year one. And also, if you don't have that much to share, that's okay too. But I just wanted to give you permission there. But yes, tell me a little bit more about your why you guys started homeschooling and then about this learning year.
Yes, I would love to talk more on the reason why we decided to homeschool. I think identifying the why you decide to homeschool is very important. And it's also important to have an open mind with others too, and hearing their journey and their stories, because not everyone's why is going to be the same. But I think in order to get the true meaning of why we decided to homeschool, we need to rewind a little bit. So going back to when my oldest started pre-K, in Florida we call it VPK, we went into it with no anticipation, no thoughts on homeschooling at all. It was towards the end for VPK year we started questioning, like, do we want to send her to kindergarten? We had some friends who recently started homeschooling, and that community and that door was just common in our area, and we started questioning, like, is this a route we wanted to take? Instantly, I felt I was more intrigued than my husband was. But honestly, I was not homeschooled. He was not homeschooled. We were both public educated, and we just had no experience or no knowledge regarding homeschooling. So luckily in the state of Florida, we are a school choice state. So we knew that she was not going to go to our local school for kindergarten. So our idea was, if she didn't get into a charter or a different school that we enrolled her in because we were waitlisted, then we would homeschool and we would just take it day by day and figure it out. It was a month before kindergarten started, and we had not heard anything. So I jumped into action, as my type A self does. And I started buying curriculum. I started researching curriculum because I was on like, this is it. We're homeschooling. We're just going to figure it out. It was 2 weeks before school started. We got the notification that a spot had opened up, and deep down inside, I knew that I was a little heartbroken, but I was also like, okay, this is great. Like, I can still continue my career, and I mean, this is what you do. You send your kids to school. I feel like I fought my initial, I don't know, my want to educate her. I can't explain it. It was just like a gut feeling that this is what I should be doing. I should be educating her. But we did send her. We had all the first day of kindergarten fills, the walking her in, and it was a great experience. But then maybe 4 or 5 months later, it's just her spark. Her attitude had changed. We would pick her up. It was just emotional meltdowns, freakouts about different drills that were going on in school. There was just a lot going on at that time in the school system that we were not pleased with. The classes were overfilled. The teachers are just stressed. They can only do so much, and her teacher did an amazing job with the resources that she was given, with the amount of kids that she had. It's not the teacher's fault at all. I just think that the system is very broken. There was just so many kids, and her light was gone. This wasn't my child that I sent to kindergarten. Her spark for learning was gone. Every morning it was a meltdown, just not wanting to go. Then during Christmas break, I worked with her some and kind of did a little test run on what it would be like to homeschool. And I told my husband, I was like, this is what we need to do. But again, we were like, well, how is that going to work? I had a corporate job, and my career was growing, and I was working 50 hours a week and traveling some. And we just had to figure out logistically, what is this going to look like for our life? Like, things have to shift. So we decided to get things in order and get prepared. And then starting first grade, we would homeschool, which is exactly what we did. She had her kindergarten graduation, and then summer hit. We did a very short summer break, and we jumped into first grade curriculum. But rewinding, that was one of the reasons why. It was a want on my end, and then soon my husband followed that want as well. It was just the heartbreak of seeing your child, the eagerness to learn was just diminishing. Her spark was gone, her light was gone, emotional outbursts. And as a kindergarten, like, this shouldn't be happening in kindergarten. Kindergarten is supposed to be a fun time of learning, and it just was not that experience for us. And then also at this time too, our faith is very important to us, and I understand that that's not everyone's experience or desire, but as well, there was just so many unknown things happening in the school system that it was just, we wanted to protect our child. So these are the main key points of our why, and they're not going to be everyone's why. Everyone's why is going to be different, and I just love that about homeschooling, all the different stories and all the uniqueness of everyone's journey is just so different, and I just love that. But moving on to our first year, it's so great that it's your first year too, because it is truly a learning year. And and your son is 1 year behind my daughter, it seems like we're in somewhat of the same seasons. So our first year, we took a short summer break after kindergarten, and we immediately jumped in. I wanted to kind of feel like what our schedule would be like. This was an unknown territory to me. Of course, I had done research, but a homeschooling mom that I know, she once told me recently, you don't know what you don't know. And I just love that quote, because you don't know what you don't know. I mean, you kind of have to live in it and dive deep into it to figure out what works for you, what works for your child, what works for your family. And I did end up quitting my corporate job. We felt that's what was best for us at the time. And in the meantime, I am working a part-time job still, and, doing Etsy and different avenues of income to help supplement. But our first year was a learning year, not only for homeschooling, but for us as well. I wasn't working full time. It was just different schedules, lots of change in the year. It was a year of change for us, and it was good change. But you have to grow through learning how to navigate this new lifestyle. In the beginning, I tried to be overwhelmingly involved in homeschool communities. I was so concerned about socialization, because anytime you tell anyone that you are homeschooling, that is their first go-to. How is your child going to socialize? And I felt like that was a common thing in our thoughts, was like, well, we want to make sure that she is socialized. So I was overwhelmingly involved in the homeschool communities, and I quickly learned that you do not have to meet up every single day to get your kids socialized. It was chaos in the beginning. Got a schedule down. And to be quite honest with you, within the first month of homeschooling, I quickly learned that we had to fill in the gaps for kindergarten. And at the time, I felt like that was a setback. My child starting first grade, and we're having to kind of go back and do kindergarten curriculum. I felt like it was a setback. I felt like I had did something wrong, but the moms in our community, they were all quickly like, this is the beauty of homeschooling. If she was in school, your child would just be lost in the sauce, to say the least. They would just move them on. But now you have the opportunity to take the time to get her called up, to fill in the gaps that were missed. So we did that. And then in September, yes, it was September, we officially started first grade curriculum. And we started very basic math, language arts, spelling, and a little bit of science. We didn't dive into history much, just literature, of history, just reading books. But it was so fun. It was so fun to see your child get the math problem, learning how to read, and it finally sticking. And I just find that so amazing that we have the opportunity. And it's such a blessing to just see your child grow educationally. I just love it. I enjoy it. We are involved in a community. I love our community groups. We do field trips. We do meetups. We have a homeschool soccer. One of the parents leads and coaches that. It's not an official team, but they get out there and they have the best time ever. We go on hikes. Again, I am in Florida, so we do beach days. Any opportunity we can get out together and have fun, we do it. And it's such a great support system. And I encourage anyone who is new to homeschooling or still trying to navigate homeschooling, maybe you're still in your second or third year and you still don't have that community, I highly encourage you to find that community, because it truly does make a difference. That extra support, not everyone has a family who is fully on board and supportive of homeschooling, and that's okay. Sometimes I think it's hard for people to open their mind to different possibilities. You're so stuck in the system of, you go to work, you send your child to school, this is what you do. And when you break that cycle and you change things up, it can alter people's perspectives. But it was such a learning year. What worked for us, we did switch curriculums at the end of first grade. I feel like we used a great beginner curriculum to kind of get our feet wet. Again, this is new territory to us, but going into second grade, I myself feel more confident. I feel more prepared. I know what to look for in curriculum more than what I did in the beginning. And we're diving more into history and science experiments and subscription boxes. And it's just a lot of fun stuff going on. We already have a few field trips planned in late fall with our group that I'm excited about. And I feel like it's just going to be a great year. The confidence that you gain in year one, you can have setbacks. You have questioning. Am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? You will have those moments. I think those moments are normal. And I think those moments are validated. But we have to remember the why. That goes back to the why. Why did we decide to do this? And you need to have a good support system, because when you have those moments of, I can't do this, you need that friend, you need that partner, you need that sister or mom or dad that's saying, yes, you can. You have this. You're doing this for the greater good of your child and your family. And I just think that's so important to have. And it's needed because we are all going to have moments of doubt. There were definitely a few days in this past year where I was like, what am I doing? What are we doing? This is not working? And I think that is another beautiful thing of homeschooling. When something doesn't work, you can switch it up. If your child doesn't learn that way, then you pivot and you figure out what works and what doesn't. And I just love that. And I am excited to hear how your learning year went. Is there any tips or tricks that you could give me? Because I still sometimes, I am still learning, and it's definitely going to be a different year for us too, because, I also have a 3-year-old and she is not old enough for preschool, but we are starting to, do little things with her. A lot of reading, a lot of building, a lot of Play-Doh. But she's at that age too where she sees big sister doing school and she wants to do school. And I just love that she has that willingness and eagerness to want to be involved in what we're doing. So we're gonna introduce her to a little bit of handwriting. We don't anticipate or expect her to, do it or get it right. It's just more or less exposure and making her feel involved in what we're doing. And of course, science experiments, definitely will be involved with that. Art, she's all about it. She loves coloring and painting. So, and lots of reading, lots and lots of reading. I think that's so important at that age to get that imagination growing. So she's just along for the ride. She just follows us around and kind of fits in what we're doing. And I love that too. It's opening up a world for her as well as a 3-year-old. And I know you said your youngest is 1, so you still have a little bit to go, but I'm pretty sure when yours is around mine's age, 3 years old, 2.5 to 3 years old, you're going to see, they see their older siblings do it. They follow suit. And that oldest one is a great mentor, especially, seeing that we do school at home, and it's great. And I think I have gained enough knowledge and confidence this year to go into the second grade more reassured of myself and my abilities to continue home education. And that's where we're at right now. And I love it. And we are taking it day by day, month by month. And we're going to see where this journey takes us.
Okay, Tiffany. So thank you so much for sharing your story and, all that happened with your daughter in kindergarten, I think a couple of things that stood out to me, like first was the piece where, you're trusting your gut, or where you knew in your gut, like you didn't want to send her to school, but you did ultimately, which makes so much sense. It's like the norm, right, for society to send our kids to school. But I think it's just a reminder of the fact that, like, 99% of the time, our gut is going to lead us in the right direction. And so I think that I appreciate you sharing that. And I love how you used Christmas break to do a trial run. Something I always share with people who ask me, like, how did I get started, or any tips or things for getting started. That's one of the biggest things I recommend, is like ordering some sample curriculum and just do a week even. Christmas break is probably about 4 weeks, but even if you just do a week of what would homeschool look like for you, just to build your confidence and to see that in our minds it is probably a lot harder than it actually is, right? So if you can just take a week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is, to test it out, it just gives you a taste of what it would be like. So I think that's so smart. And I'm glad you shared that, because it's just a reminder, even once you do start homeschooling, if you want to switch curriculum, which you talked about, like those pivots and having the freedom to adjust, if you choose to do that, you can do it as a trial basis. You don't have to feel like, if I switch, I can never go back, or I don't know if I'm switching to the right thing. Like, just try a switch for a week or 2 weeks and see how it goes and see how that feels. So I think that is all really, really good advice. It sounds like you have a lot of great things happening in your first year. So, being able to fill the gaps from kindergarten, being able to find community and set up play dates and experience different things with field trips and things like that, all like a lot of great things happening in your first year. And I know you asked a little bit about our first year, but ours was similar. And it's so funny because, like, of course, everyone's like, how are you going to socialize? They're not going to see other children. And it's just not true at all. And it's a lot easier to socialize, especially if you're in an area where there are a lot of homeschoolers. And I know from what I see online, I feel like Florida has a lot of homeschoolers. I'm in the DMV, so DC, Maryland, Virginia area. There's a lot of people who homeschool. And so there's a lot of different things happening all the time for homeschoolers. I know that's not the case in every part of the country or world, but if there's places where there are other if you live in a place where there are other homeschoolers, it's really easy. And honestly, it can be like, you have to reel it in and like be like, I'm not going to go outside every single day, because when will we actually do the learning? So there's that piece. What else did we learn? Oh, so I think this year for us was really like finding a little bit of a rhythm, but also it's probably going to change a lot because we were homeschooling with a newborn. So it's a bit different now. There's another child who's like walking around and getting interested in some of the things we're doing. So to your point, we'll be doing a lot of reading for him too, because he's starting to get really into listening to books being read aloud. And so we'll incorporate him in that. And then to your point, into the science experiments, into art and all that, as much as he's able to. So we'll do our best with that. But honestly, he's just along for the ride, like you said, same thing. So that was one thing this year. I think another big thing this year was community. And I feel I'm proud of what we accomplished there. We joined a co-op. We have friends, both my son and I, he has built friendships with folks from co-op. I have built friendships with folks from co-op, and not even just co-op, other homeschooling moms in the area. So that was really, really good. And then my other piece, I wanted to just focus on reading, writing, math, core subjects. And I ended up giving him assessment that I used as a teacher and a school leader that we could get online, and he did really well with that. So I'm just proud that we were able to set that foundation for kindergarten. This year, I do want to get more into, similar to you, the science, the social studies, we did do fun things, but I just want to make it more exciting, right? And build those like traditions and experiences just a little more intentionally now, also that I have a little more space without having to make sure a newborn stays alive. So there's that too. Okay, so let's touch base about curriculum and lesson planning. How did that go this past year? What curriculum did you use? Did you have a structure for planning or routines for planning? And then I know you said you're switching, so I'm super curious to know what you were using and what you're switching to, because I'm in the process of finalizing what curriculum I want to use for this upcoming year. And so, I'm always curious to know what others are using, but also to hear your why you chose to switch from one to another.
Oh my goodness. It sounds like we are in the same season. We are just dealing with the first year and learning through it and just taking it day by day, moment by moment, and making changes where needed. And I love that. That's just another perk of homeschooling, that we can cater our experiences and the learning to our children and our lives. And then we learn as well what works and what doesn't for our child. But going into curriculum, I love talking about curriculum. I think there are so many good resources out there, to the point to where it can sometimes be very overwhelming on trying to choose the correct curriculum. Coming into the second grade, I have already purchased everything, but the more I'm on social media, the more I'm like, oh, should I switch it? But it's just, there's just so much. There's so many to choose from. It depends on, like, do you want a faith-based? Do you want secular? Do you want, there's just so many options. And I think that's a good thing. I think that we need to have options and multiple resources, because not one curriculum is good for every child. And we are eclectic, so I use different types of curriculum and just kind of cater to what works best for us. For the start of first grade, I did use The Good and the Beautiful, math, and language arts, and I like it, but I don't love it. The language arts I like. The math, we did complete it, but we are switching to Abeka for second grade. I just feel like it's just not challenging enough. It's too slow paced. I need something more for mastery. I just feel like it's kind of all over the place, in my opinion. I think it's very pretty. I think it's very beautiful. I think it is very creative. And for some people, it works. I know so many people that use it and they love it. And that's great. But for us, it wasn't enough that I felt that we needed. Language arts, we also, for first grade, we used The Good and the Beautiful. And I like it well enough, but halfway through the year, I did add in All About Reading. And I highly recommend All About Reading. That was our biggest struggle, was reading. And I mean, now she's just, the love of reading that she has currently is just grown, and I'm just so in love with it. It helped her so much. It's just that one little piece that was needed to be added in to just help her excel. What else did we use? Oh, for science and geography, I didn't really use like a set curriculum, but I did buy the Evan Moore books for kindergarten through first. I love them. They're so creative. They're just like, it's like an entry level to science and geography and history. And I think that's so great at that age, because you don't want to overwhelm them with too much information, unless your child is into that and they're well known on like geography. But it was a great introducing of like what maps are, a compass, like where the continents are, what our country is, state levels. It was just like a good base, I feel like. So that way, is going into second grade, we can actually dive in a little bit deeper and have a better understanding of how science works and how geography works. So that's what we did for that. And then just little creative unit studies. There are so many resources online of other homeschooling moms, and there's one particular, I can't remember her name, but she does so many unit studies for history, and I love it. It's just she has everything laid out exactly what you need, the books you should read, crafts to go along with it, recipes to go along with the lesson, and we had so much fun with that. And it honestly didn't even feel like school. And there are so many resources out there like that to just keep it fun and creative. What else? For art, I mean, it was first grade. We just kind of painted and watercolors, and around the holidays we made homemade Christmas ornaments and painted them and then took them to a local nursing home. What else did we do? Just fun stuff like that. Very simple and easy. And then I guess also we did do a subscription box through Crunch Labs. She is a huge fan of the Crunch Labs, and she just loves that engineering aspect. So we ventured out and got that, and that has been so much fun. She enjoys it so much. I love subscription-based products because it's just kind of out of mind, out of sight until it gets delivered. And then it's just like it's a new fun activity to do. It's educational, it's learning, it's family building. That's her and her dad's thing. They love doing the Crunch Labs. They've kind of made it their thing. So I'll let them have that moment, and it's just so fun seeing her, the excitement she gets when it's delivered. But yeah, that's what we did last year. Now going into this year, we got a lot going on. For science, I'm venturing out and I'm going to experiment with BJU Press. I read a lot of good things about it. I can't speak if it's great or not because I haven't used it yet. So time will tell. By looking at the books, it's very pretty and it looks very fun. So I think that we're going to enjoy it. It looks like something that would fit good for us. Math, we are doing a Becca this year after doing a little bit of research and talking to some other friends of mine. It seems that it's more of like a mastery level. I was really tossed up between a Becca or math with confidence, but I'm going to give a Becca a try and see how that works out for us. Language arts, we are sticking with the good and the beautiful, but I'm teeter-tottering on if I want to try something different. I'm not 100% on that, so I'm going to do a little bit more research and see what we have, what some other options are. There's so many. For history, we're also doing the good and the beautiful. It seems very simple, and I feel like we need simple history this year with her still being so young. And it looks fun. It has a lot of activities that come with it, and time graphs, and it looks interesting. We're going to give it a go, and if not, then I'll continue on with some unit studies because like with history, there's learning everywhere, especially where we are located. There's so much history around us that we've learned so much just in our own community. And then again, we are also adding in a Bible curriculum from LifePack. So we're going to implement that in. The Bible curriculum is affiliated. That is the one that our co-op is going to be doing together. So that's why we purchased that one. We're going to be doing that in a group setting with some of her friends, which is going to be so much fun, learning about the Bible alongside with some of her friends, and just going to be a good time to fellowship together. And spelling, let's see, we ended up going with Horizon. Last year with the good and the beautiful, that was one thing. I loved the language arts. The spelling just didn't seem like enough for me personally. I feel like she needed more. So we're adding in a spelling curriculum, and I chose Horizon. But after I purchased, I was debating on All About spelling, but I think we're going to stick with Horizon for now. Again, there are so many resources out there, and it's so easy to get distracted. And for this upcoming year, that's what we have planned. We have a lot of fun activities, and we're going to try this new curriculum and see how it works for us. Lesson planning now. Okay, lesson planning, that's a huge topic. So many people lesson plan differently. I went into it, again, I don't have an education background. Am I organized? Yes. Am I a planner? Yes. But I feel like I overplanned the year last year. And then when it didn't go as planned, I was very discouraged. But we were also we went through a season of strep throat and ear infections. And when you have all that going on along with a toddler being sick, it's just, you have to pivot and figure it out. But this year, what I did is I did a master plan because I'm just now starting to plan. So I have a master plan of what I want completed through the year, like major things that we need to be completed through the year. And I've went through and marked out some like important dates for holidays so we can incorporate learning about holidays and cultures and things like that. And then as far as like loop planning or any particular type style of planning, I don't really have a particular style. I like doing math and science a day, and then language arts and spelling a day. We kind of just like mix it in. Mondays, I like to call it our math Mondays, where we get like a lot of math done. We did that last year and it was fun. So I think I'm going to continue on with that. And then also last year we did 1 week of geography and 1 week of science and 1 week of history. And then I guess that kind of is like loop learning, loop scheduling. So we did that, and I think that worked really good. It was like focused on science and then a break, and then focus on history and a break. And that worked great for us. It doesn't work for everyone, but it did work great for us. And I think I want to continue on with that this upcoming year. There are so many planners out there. Again, it's so overwhelming. But I did venture out this year, and I splurged and got the well-ordered homeschool planner, and I just started filling it in with some important things we have coming up because, we're starting school here in a few weeks. And I love it so far. It's so beautiful. It's a spiral. It's not a soft cover. So, and I personally like that. I just feel like it has more durability because, I don't know, my planners go through it sometimes. I'll take it everywhere. But do you need a fancy planner to plan for homeschool? Absolutely not. But I felt like treating myself, and I had been eyeballing. I eyeballed it last year, and I finally splurged and got it. And I just love it so far. But that's just how we plan. I absolutely love around the holidays. We do take a break from school. Like we take off from Thanksgiving until a little bit into January. It's kind of like our bulk break. And we do fun activities. We do learning about Christmas from around the world. We like just doing fun activities, holiday festivals in our community. We made ornaments and took them to our local nursing home and sang Christmas carols with our co-op last year. And we just did a lot of fun activities. While it's still learning, it's not traditional book learning, but there was still a lot of involvement and learning opportunities within that. And I think it's just a great time to take a step back, refresh, have fun, serve others. And I highly recommend that to anyone. If you have the option to break, we kind of do year round. We just braked for summer 2 weeks ago, and then we start in a few weeks. So we're year-round homeschoolers, but kind of take a break. We prefer to take our longest break at the end of the year to enjoy all the festivities. And, it's not so hot in Florida. We can actually enjoy the outdoors without all the humidity. But yeah, that's what's going on with the curriculum and the planning. I'm sorry, I know that was a lot and kind of all over the place, but I'm still learning and growing, and I feel like there's so many resources and opportunities out there to still learn about. So we're just taking it day by day and year by year, and just going to keep learning and growing through each season.
No apologies necessary at all because I want all the details. So I appreciate you, getting detailed and sharing all the things. Okay, I totally hear you and feel you on the overwhelm from curriculum. I'm in it right now too. And it's just like you want to try it all, right? Like you want the very best one. It's like, how do I know if it's best if I haven't done it? And so it can be hard to just pick something and stick with it, but that is my goal as well. It's like, all right, you got to pick it and stick with it. And I love how last year, you made a pivot with reading and she is like thriving from that pivot. So I think there is like this balance between like, okay, I've got to stick with it. I've got to really give it a try because it could just be, I need some time. Maybe I just need to make some small tweaks. I don't need to change the whole curriculum, but then also feeling the power, I don't know what the word is, I guess power to change when you need to, right? So I love that you did that and thank you for sharing that piece too. Yeah, so many good things. Love the fact around your Christmas ornaments and using that art piece to also encourage volunteering and like giving back to the community. So good. I've never heard of Crunch Labs before. It sounds familiar, but I'm like, am I thinking of there's like a gym I think called like Crunch Fitness or something, and I feel like that's what I'm thinking of, but I'm going to check out that subscription box. We also love a good subscription box. We had one gifted to us from Highlights, I think, no, Scholastic maybe, and it is exactly what you said. Like we forget about it and then it comes and we're like, ooh, look at all this fun stuff. And this is just like random play things, and there's still some educational pieces in there, but like the last one was a summer themed one, and there was like yellow slime where you got to put sprinkles and ice cubes to make lemonade, and like the sprinkles were scented like lemons. It's like fun stuff too, not just all academic, but I definitely agree. So I'm going to check out Crunch Lab. So thank you for sharing that. I also wanted to just share something about the piece where you talked about over planning for the year and feeling discouraged. Like super normal. Every year as a teacher and an administrator, that happens. Like you're so ambitious as humans. We think that things can get done faster than they actually do. And like, this is just everybody. And so we tend to overplan and think we can accomplish more. And so, you're not alone in that. And it's normal to be like, man, I really want to get more done. And like you said, things happen, life happens, sicknesses and just different things come up. And so one of the things I do, I love the book. It's called The 12-Week Year. It's not a homeschooling book at all. It's more like a productivity book. And one of the things they talk about is it's really hard to know what life is going to be like in 12 months. So like typically in January, because this book is not a school book, it's just everyone in general. But in January, a lot of us will look for the whole year and say, okay, what do I want to accomplish by next year? And it's like, how do you even know what the next month is going to be like, or next week even sometimes? And so what they encourage is like, yeah, have an idea of like what are your goals, your vision for 12 months, but then plan more deeply for 12-week stints, because it's easier to look out, okay, 3 months from now, what do I want to accomplish? How much can we get done in these 3 months? Not to say things won't change in those 3 months, but that's how I tend to approach my planning too, is like I'll look at each quarter, and I actually created a planner. And so I have like quarterly, I print out 3 months worth of sheets because it's a PDF. I put it into this similar to like a happy planner hole punch system, put it in there. And every month I'll then step back and do like a reflection of the month, plan out for the next month. But I do 3 months at a time, like print out 3 months at a time and look at the calendar 3 months out. So that, I'm not feeling like, oh man, I wanted to do this big whole thing by this year, but it didn't get done. And I still do look ahead to the year to like, think about big things like holidays and stuff like that. One thing I want to do this year that I did not do last year, I started homeschooling with like a 1 month old. So things were a little bit less structured, but I do want to look at like vacations and blocking those off on the calendar, and even not necessarily just vacation, but like time off. So to your point about like taking that time off in Christmas, like what weeks do I want to take off and what do I want that to look like, and start just thinking about that now. But yeah, I wanted to share that. And then I love this idea of Math Mondays and a week for each subject other than ELA and math. That's definitely something that I might experiment with after hearing you talk about it, because I've been doing ELA and math every day, but then 1 day a week is science, 1 day a week social studies, 1 day a week art, 1 day a week music, although music and art, get incorporated every day. And then we have PE and health that we teach too, but like PE, my son plays sports all the time. So, but I like this idea of like maybe a science week and a history week versus days. So something for me to think about. I appreciate you sharing that. Okay. I had a couple other questions for you based off of your introduction, like first couple voice notes. So let's switch gears to talk about support and community. So can you talk about what your support system looks like, whether that be your spouse or family members or other people in your community, and then community too, like how did you find community for you and your children as you were homeschooling?
Thank you so much for explaining further in detail about the planning system that you use, the 12-week planning. I'm actually going to look into that and see if we can implement that this year and kind of experiment with it a little bit and see how that works better for us. I feel like that method and system would probably work, better at 12 weeks. Like you said, it's easier to plan 12 weeks out versus, 12 months out, just because life happens and circumstances and chaos of life and parenthood. But pivoting over to the community and my support system, first I want to say that as I said in the beginning, we do have some friends, really close friends of ours, that were already homeschooling. So I had kind of bent the ears of them prior to us homeschooling to kind of get, ideas or, what it was like for them. But I have to give like a huge thanks to my husband. He has been so supportive for this decision for us to homeschool. I would say that it was scary for both of us in the beginning because it's new territory, and we're going outside of the norm or of what society says that you should be doing. So it did feel different at first, but he has been so supportive with everything and helpful in different tasks that we do, as much as involvement as he can be. And also the friends that we had that homeschool, they had invited us out to their community group. There is a local Facebook group of moms that just created a Facebook group. It's similar to a co-op, but it's not like scheduled days and there's no fee. It's just a group of moms and homeschool kids that get together on random dates throughout the month, and they just, if you come, you come. If you don't, there's no penalty. And I went to a few of those events, and I was just shocked and in awe of the amount of kids and the amount of support that these women had. And and they're Christ following women, and they were just so welcoming and helpful and helped guide me through the beginning stages. Essentially, we had a lot of first time homeschool moms, but there was a lot of veteran moms in the group. So it's just a wide range of women and children. The ages are from infants all the way up to high school, which I think is great for the social aspect. They're not just socializing with one age group at this point. They're socializing with all age groups of different cultures and different lifestyles. And I just think it's so amazing. We have went out and done field trips. Most recently, we went to the mosquito museum, which who knew there was such a thing? So my daughter loves bugs and insects, so that was really fun for her. And it's just been a great thing for them. And also, as far as the community, as we grew in our church, we come to realize that there are a lot of families within our church family that are homeschooling. So we started meeting up with them as well. So our social calendar is pretty full at the moment. We've actually had to decline some social activities because at the end of the day, we do have to get school done. But like you said before, I don't know what it's like where you live, but the homeschool community in Florida is just phenomenal. It's overwhelmingly welcoming, I guess would be the correct term to use. I mean, there's groups for homeschool dads, there's groups for Christian homeschool moms, secular, there's nature groups, there's just so Charlotte Mason, there's just so many opportunities to grow. And then also growing on that, there is an event that happens at a local skate rink. Once a month, they have what they call like homeschool day, and it's all the homeschool groups that come together as one. And we have like a skate day, and then we get to talk to other women in the other groups and, communicate with them. And it's just a great experience. I don't think in a traditional school setting we would get such a wide variety of socialization. So it's kind of funny being a homeschool parent, and that's the first thing people ask you is how are you going to socialize your kid? And in my mind, I'm like, we are so socialized. I feel like we are so more socialized than when we were in a school setting. And not that there's nothing wrong with traditional school, and you still get that socialization, but the homeschooling, it just opens up such a wide variety. And I love the community. So that's the community that we have going for us. And our family has been supportive enough. I would say in the beginning, it's different. In the beginning, they weren't as understanding, or, you don't know what you don't know. They just weren't educated on homeschooling. But as they see us in the community and they go on field trips with us, the grandparents have definitely opened their hearts and their arms to the idea of homeschooling, and they're very supportive and they're helpful. And it's going great for us right now. And it's kind of hard to even think about living somewhere else because I don't know if the homeschool community is growing as vastly as the area we live in, but maybe so. I'm just uneducated on that. But we are just so happy and content with our homeschool family and our church family and pre-existing friends that we had that are also homeschooling. I just couldn't be happier with that aspect of our journey at the moment.
Yes, I love this so much. I'm so happy that you all are happy with how it's going, right? Like it is so, like you said, it's so new and unknown in the beginning. You're like, what is this going to be like? Whereas like a traditional school, most of us who are homeschooling were educated at traditional school, so we have our experience as kids. And so we kind of know what it looks like, or we feel like we know what it's going to look like for our kids. But it's like homeschooling. What is this going to be like? Are we going to make friends? Are we going to learn? Like all the questions, like I have no idea what this could look like. And of course, we see snippets on social media and stuff, but it's just like, what is it really going to be like for me? We don't have that experience. So I'm so happy that you've found your community to the point where, you have to decline events. Like, actually, we have to learn today. And it's so funny because we have had to do similar this year. We had to slow down. Like, we haven't been in the house like hardly at all this week because we've been on play dates and field trips and co-op and all the things. So I feel you. Our community is similar feeling for us, that we have really built up a lot of friendships and kind of found our group that we see often and things like that. We are in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and there are thousands and thousands of homeschoolers here, which is amazing. So there's a lot of opportunity and things, a lot. And you might imagine we're in near the government, so there's a lot of organizations and nonprofits and stuff near the government. We're near the national, the capital. what does that mean? We're near the government. We're near the Capitol. So there's a lot of government things and nonprofits and stuff like that in the area. And a lot of, so like NASA has homeschooling opportunity, you know what I mean? Like things like that are in the area. We were just talking about Mount Vernon is having a homeschooling day coming up at the beginning of September. So there's just a lot of like homeschooling days similar. So we have a skate rink who does homeschool days, which is so cool. We went last year a few times where they do like a science lesson, or like the kids were like rolling the skates on different fabric and talking about friction. It was really cool. And they got to roller skate for a little bit, and it was just all homeschoolers. So yeah, there's like so many things that you have to start filtering it. Like we can't do all of this. And it's so funny because to your point, if we were in school, they would do, the typical field trips, and of course, they would be air quotes. I'm air quoting right now, socializing all day. And I put air quotes because I'm a former teacher and principal, and they're not socializing all day, especially as they get older. The goal is for them to be quiet more so that the teacher can actually teach. Not the goal. I won't say that it's the goal. That is what tends to happen in some schools. So anyways, I love this, and I am with you. I totally agree that this socialization is a lot easier, especially if you're in an area where there's a lot of homeschoolers than we might think in the beginning. Okay, I believe at one point back in our conversation, you mentioned that you have a part-time job. So can you talk to us about that? Talk to me about, I also have a part-time job. So whatever you feel comfortable sharing about maybe what the job is. Do you work from home? Do you go to a job part-time? And then what does it look like to organize all these things? Part-time job, lessons and teaching and all the social activities. We just had our son's 6th birthday party yesterday, and a bunch of the moms were like, it's a lot to be the mom manager. And these were my friends who are not homeschool moms. So we are or not mom manager, the family manager. Many of us as homeschooling moms are still the family manager plus the teacher, which is a full-time job, right? In most instances. So I would love to hear about your part-time job, and then what does organization look like for you with all the things that you have going?
Yes, I do have a part-time job, and I would love to share more on that because that's just a huge topic in the homeschool world. There's a lot of stay-at-home moms, which homeschooling is a full-time job. So, but I know moms who work full-time. How they do it it's just, I am in awe of those moms who work full-time. I have the privilege to only have to work part-time, and sometimes I feel like it's a lot. It's a lot to juggle. And I will say this, starting out in working a part-time job, it was a lot to figure out. Our lives were completely different. But I do work out of the home part-time, a minimum 2 days, sometimes 3 days a week, but I am a server at a steakhouse nearby. So it is evenings. So I'm at home with the kids during the day while my husband's at work, and then 2 to 3 days a week in the evenings after he's home, I do work at a steakhouse being a server, and it's working for us at the moment. It is hard, to say the least. It takes a lot of dedication, but it's not easy, but it's worth it to us at this season of life that we're in. It's not forever. It's just temporary, and we're making it work at the moment. The organization aspect of it, though, it did take us, I'm going to say, a good 6 to 7 months of just really trying to find our groove. But also, too, within that 6 and 7 months, my husband did have to go out of town for work a few times. But my job, they are so extremely flexible. They are so understanding with the homeschool lifestyle, and the fact that my husband does go out of town for work sometimes. So I mean, there's been times where he had to go out last minute, and I mean, it wasn't an issue. I got my shifts covered, and they're just so beyond accommodating. So for that reason, I've just continued to work there. It's providing for our family enough for us to feel comfortable. It's not it's not a lot out of me. It's 2 to 3 days a week, and I get to go out and talk to grown-ups. But what helps us stay organized? I know it's the most common thing. People say it's communication. I have certain days that I work during the week, and of course, we know what my husband's schedule is most of the time. So we have a sitter that comes in one day a week that sits with the kids. So that way my husband can have a gym day. And then on a day that I'm not working, he comes home and sits with the kids so I can get some me time. I can go to Starbucks and lesson plan. I can hit the gym. And sometimes it's just a hot meal somewhere or a hot shower, unbothered. We're moms, right? So, because at the end of the day, we have to refill our cup and our soul, or it's just the house isn't going to flourish. Because I mean, we're working and we're homeschooling and we're lesson planning, and the house you have to take care of. I'm a wife. There's a lot of work and dedication that goes into all of those things. So without organization and a concise plan, things can feel unhealthy or spiritually drained or like you want to give up. And we did reach those moments, and we quickly realized, like, okay, we are doing this for the better good, but we also have to take care of ourselves. My husband needs his time just as much as I need my personal time. So, like that's been our quote this year, is like, refill your soul, because we have to take care of ourselves. So the communication, we have that down, and we just pivot as things are thrown at us. We're a team. We work together, and for us at this moment, it's working. And do we see that changing soon in the future? Yes, we do. Of course, at my age, I don't want to be a server forever. It's not a forever thing. It is a stepping stone, but I wanted to get a year to 2 years into homeschooling before I rededicated my effort into something else, because we also have a toddler too. So days are never the same, emotions are high, and I just feel like at this season right now, my job it's perfect for our lifestyle at this moment. I'm very grateful for the fact that they're just so flexible. But yes, and it's nice to get out of the house 2 to 3 days a week. I mean, yes, it's working, but I mean, we're teaching kids all day, and we're at home with a toddler or a baby. That adult interaction is just as important, and you need to feel like a grown up sometimes. So, yeah, that is our life. Communication and the usage of electronic calendars really helps us stay organized and on top of things. And I mean, some people don't like to have to plan out their lives, but I mean, we schedule gym time, we schedule dinner time, we schedule date nights, because we have to take care of ourselves. So, you know, we are moms and we're homeschooling, and I think that's a great gift. But if we can't take care of ourselves, we can't pour the best into our children. So I'll end on that. And yeah, it's a great journey for us.
I feel like everything in life is just like seasonal, right? And with homeschooling, it kind of, I don't know, feels like there's more things to determine. I don't know if there's anything that's going to be like a forever thing, but like, how long will this last? Not sure. Like, this is just seasonal. It may change, but for now it works. So like, keep doing it. So that's really cool that you have the opportunity to, have a really understanding, flexible job that supports you, your family. Like, you get, like you said, time to interact with adults and not just kids, and be outside the house and do something different. I also think that one of the gems you just shared of like, you have a babysitter once a week, that is actually something that we started about the middle of the year last year. And it has been so helpful, because similarly, I work part-time, my husband works full-time, but Tuesdays are our like babysitter day. So I give her some like arts and crafts, some independent ELA and math work, and then she, plays and hangs out with the baby too. And then I have that full day to do client work. So my part-time job is not out of the house. Although I do have I guess I have two part-time jobs because I do teach Pure Barre classes, and that is out of the house, but that's typically Friday mornings when everyone's sleeping and Saturdays when my husband is not working. So not every Saturday, just one or two a month, if that. So yeah, that's kind of what our situation looks like right now. But that babysitter piece is so, so helpful. And then yes to the calendar and yes to the communication. We try like every Sunday. It's nothing formal, and even sometimes it's Monday morning, like, what do you have going on this week? When do you need me? When, can I go similar? Like, can I go to the gym on this day? Can I go work out on this day? Plan that stuff out. And then everything that's like a more formal, Erica's out of the house or my husband's out of the house, is on the calendar, because if it's not on the calendar, it's not real life. I will definitely forget. So I definitely agree with those pieces. I know you mentioned like getting to have some you time, and one of the things you shared was like going to Starbucks and lesson planning. So I have two questions. Like, I think this piece that you touched on briefly is really big. It's like, how do you maintain your sense of self, if that makes sense, and like self-care and like doing things that are just for you too, especially because just motherhood in general takes, I was going to say takes a lot away from you. That's not what I mean, but like you take on that role of mother and that becomes a primary role oftentimes. So then how do you lean into your other roles and other things you like to do? So I'd love to hear more about that, because it sounds like it's something you think about and like live into and do. And then I'm also curious about your planning. Like, what does that look like? Do you use a planner? Do you use digital? When you go to Starbucks and you're planning, what does that look like?
Yeah, so I totally get what you're saying about us moms just trying to find that piece of ourself, and it not being like it takes too much out of us. It's just you're balancing a lot. And not even as a homeschool mom, even before I was homeschooling, I mean, just the day-to-day working and home task. I mean, I think that every mom and dad should take that time and be very dedicated on getting that time to yourself. And by no means am I perfect. I still have to remind myself, or sometimes my husband has to remind me, like, you need that time to yourself. And it's hard, especially like you have two parents, a two income household, and you're both working and homeschooling, or your kids are in school. I mean, you have sports and you have all the things, right? So how do you balance that? And for me, it took me a while to really be diligent and dedicated to that time to myself, because I would get mom guilt. I would be guilty of like laundry needs to be done, or yeah, I could be meal prepping right now, or I could be lesson planning right now. But I had to get out of that mindset. It's just really a mindset shift, in my opinion. You really, it's like when you get on an airplane, they tell you you have to put on your own oxygen mask before you put on the others. So we have to take care of ourselves before we can really take care of our families, because if we take care of ourselves, we're going to be better equipped. We're going to be in a better mood. We're just going to have we're going to have a better sense of ourself as a person, and not just a mom or a wife or a homeschool mom or a worker. You're going to feel more confident, and it's just going to be better for your mental and physical health. So just really like looking out your life and just trying to find that time. We are planners, like I've said before. We try to plan as much as we can. So I'll look at the month ahead of time and kind of like get an idea of like what our work schedules are going to look like, any kind of events we have going on, appointments, all those things, right? So my husband will say, okay, well, like, every Tuesday or whatever, he's going to get his gym time, and then we just schedule it out, and we make it work. Now, granted, you're going to have those times where you're going to have to pivot, right? Something's going to happen, or the children may be sick, and you can't have the sitter come over, or somebody has to work late, like things happen, right? So we pivot and we reschedule. But I will say, if you get in that habit of like, oh, well, don't worry about it this week, I'll get it next week, and then something else comes up, like, no, you have to stand firmly on this. This is me time. Like, I'm dedicated to homeschooling. I'm dedicating to the household. Also have to be dedicated to me, and that's important. And I also think having a good support system to hold you accountable for that too is very important. And we have to, like, we're a partnership, right? So we have to look out for each other and our mental, because like life can take a toll. Things happen. You have family, and like we just went through like a whole family thing with the grandmother. So, like things happen, life gets crazy, and it's just so important to just take that time, that little piece to help your mental health, because it's important. Now, circling back to lesson planning at Starbucks, I do use a book planner. I've tried using digital planners. They're just not for me. I like the physical book. It's just what works for my brain. I do use a planner called the Well Ordered Homeschool. I don't know if you've heard of that one, but I just love it. It's great for multiple kids. It's like detailed, but not too much to where it's like bulky. And I just absolutely love it. So I'll take my planner, and then I'll take the subjects of like the teacher planners for the math, ELA, science, and history. And then I'll just take those up to Starbucks and just kind of like get like a glance of like, what are we learning about? Like, are we learning about what's our spelling words going to be for the next, month? Or like, are we doing like double digit math? Are we learning multiplication? Like, what are we learning? And just trying to get like a broad idea. And then I have like a weekly goal. So like by the end of each week, we need to have X amount of math lessons done, X amount of ELA done, the spelling test days. And so that's just kind of how I get like an idea of planning. And it's just nice. And sometimes you can incorporate that planning too with your alone time. Like, use that as your alone time. Like, if you enjoy that, I enjoy planning. It brings me happiness. It just makes me feel like my life is in order. So I enjoy that. It's, I grab a coffee and a muffin and just, have my headphones in, listen to a podcast or some music, and just plan my little heart out until I feel ready to go back home. And it works for us at this moment. It gives me a little bit of me time. It keeps our homeschool organized and our life. I use my planner. I use it for everything, because I just feel like using multiple planners can just kind of get like tricky. So we do use it like for appointments. So that way I know like what we have going on, so I don't schedule certain assignments or projects in the middle of an appointment or work. So that's what we do. I highly recommend it if you're able to have that flexibility to do that. I do recommend getting that time to yourself to do that planning, because it just gives you like a sense of like confidence and ambition and like the school year, and just like clears your mind a little bit. So that's how we do things.
Okay, yeah, this is all super good and really helpful. I definitely appreciate the reminder to like schedule in gym time and that piece, because I'm typically like, can I make it to the gym today? Versus like, okay, Tuesday and Thursday are the days I'm gonna make it. Well, I don't go to the gym, but go to Pure Bar or down. It's sad, but like I have a Peloton in the basement. It's like I don't use that as much as I probably should. I get into these like spurts of like I'll use it pretty good for like a month and then I fall off. So I'm continuing to remember that like it's okay to schedule that too and like stick to that as if it was a meeting with someone else. I definitely appreciate that, and like planning in alone time and using planners for like a life planner too, not just homeschooling. So that's super, super, super good. Thank you for sharing all of that and how you work through the planning and all. Okay, so you're coming up on your second year. I would love to hear a reflection from your first year in terms of like, what's the time that it felt like you failed or it was a big challenge, and how did you get through that? What lesson did you learn, and how are you incorporating that into your thinking about your second year of homeschooling?
Oh, so the first year, oh wow, there is a lot of emotions I have with our first year. There was good and there was, I don't want to say bad, but just, little pockets of moments. Like, who doesn't get those moments, right? Of self-doubt or just doubt with homeschooling altogether. It's just a lot of emotions in that first year. There's a lot of change, there's a lot of changing curriculums possibly. Our your life is different. I know we talked about it earlier in the podcast about, the first year is the learning year. And that's just what it is. It's the learning year. You have to give yourself a lot of grace, and you have to be open to changing, whether that's like routine, curriculum, how you're teaching, just change in general. I mean, I went from working full time to working part time. That was a change. We went from being in public school to being homeschooled. So, like, our schedule was very much different. So, like, that took some adjusting, not only for my daughter and my toddler, but also for me and my husband as well. Like, all of our home duties and work duties had changed. So, we had to adjust to that. And then curriculum wise, like, just trying to like learn how my daughter learns. Like, how does she learn? Is she like visual? Is she like hands on? And then within that, we also changed curriculums. Like, there was a lot of doubt, like I said before, with her reading. There was a lot of doubt with her reading. And, as her mom and her now teacher, you're like, am I doing things right? Like, we want our kids to be successful and have a great education in homeschooling. So just being able to pivot, like, okay, this isn't working, like, let's try something else. And then just being able to like not be so pinned down, like, as far as like planning. Like, I love planning and I think that you should have a plan, but like, if you don't get to it today, like, it's okay, because like, we can do extra tomorrow, or we can do extra next week if someone gets sick, or an appointment comes up, or you just need like a mental health day. So just like trying to just navigate all of those areas, all while also trying to take care of yourself and your home and your family. So it's just a lot of new things. Looking back on it, I mean, I feel like our first year definitely went smoothly. I mean, yeah, there were some bumps and some moments of like, like, what are we doing? Is this going to be okay? Am I going to survive? But I also had a toddler too, so things are changing as far as like, my toddler is getting older and she's getting more independent. She's wanting to be involved more, so it's more helpful and less, I don't want to say stressful, but less, I guess, stressful or chaotic. Chaotic is the word. But going into this new school year, I have a whole new perspective on things. Like, I know to give myself more grace. We're in more of a routine of what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, and how it needs to be done. We're in a better routine with our jobs. Like, we know what days we're working, when I'm working, when he's working. We know what days are our gym days. We know what days that we're getting time to ourselves and having an us day. We have our family days. So as far as like the schedule speaking, like, we don't, going into this new year, we don't have that trying to figure things out in that department of our lives. And also being able to experiment with a few different curriculums last year, I kind of got a feel of how my daughter learns. And, we changed things up this year, and I have gained more confidence in myself and my abilities to teach her. And that last year we bonded so much. Like we really gained a deeper connection that we were missing because she was gone at school every day for kindergarten. So we're going into this new year with like a stronger family connection as well. So I feel like the second year is like a year of, I don't know. You survive the first year, and it's just like going into the second year is like such a, I don't want to say like a weight lifted, but it's just like such, it feels peaceful. It feels exciting. It's not as stressful because like I know for the most part what to expect. And we're just excited to start this year and do all the things and all the field trips. We're pretty much booked on field trips through the holidays. So we're super excited about that. And we're just very excited of what is to come this year and another year of like learning and pivoting because as I just said a few moments ago, my youngest is 3, but she sees big sister doing work and like she's getting older and she's maturing a little bit. So like she wants to be involved and her involvement and attention is very minimal, but like she's, playing with Play-Doh and blocks and she, loves sitting and listening to the stories and she loves like the dot markers. So like, just introducing like the letters and the numbers and like the songs and like she's enjoying it. So like this new year, it's like a new perspective for like that as well. Like my youngest is like starting to pay attention and wanting more involvement. So I think it's going to be a fun year for us. I'm excited. And just anyone who is thinking about homeschooling, or if you're in your first year of homeschooling, like just give yourself grace and like just don't panic. Like it will be okay. You just have to pivot. Like it is a year of pivoting and changing and just learning. It is a learning year. So
Yes, that is so good. And I was going to ask you, but you kind of touched on it on the end of like, what would you say to a mom who is in her first year? It's September now, but maybe when this podcast comes out, it'll most likely be October. So like, maybe they just got through the first month and a half and feeling overwhelmed first year. Anything more you would say to that mom as far as advice? And then I have one last question for you about the field trips that you just mentioned. Like you're like, we're booked out till December. How did you plan those field trips? Do they correspond with the learning that you're doing, or where did you find them all? How did you make that decision? Because I love this level of planning all the way out until December with field trips. So anything else you'd say to that mom? And then field trips, let us know like how that happened, how you got those all booked out and planned out through the first half of the year. And then we'll wrap up our conversation from there. Thanks.
in the first year, I would recommend taking it day by day. That first year can be so overwhelming on so many different levels, from just the change in the family dynamic, the not knowing what to expect, from trying to learn a routine and a schedule, learning how your child learns. I would recommend just sincerely just take it day by day. I also would say don't listen to any outside noise. Do what you know and feel is best for your children and your family. Obviously, like talk to your support system in areas that you need help with. Find, what support system you have or you may need, but don't listen to outside noise. I mean, first year homeschooling, you're always going to have those people. What about socialization? How do you know that they're on track? How do you know if they're behind? And I would just say, just don't listen to them. Trust your gut. You know your child better than anyone else, and they're going to flourish. They're going to grow. You're going to make mistakes in the first year, and you're going to learn from them. It's not just your child learning, it's you're learning too. You're learning how to teach. You're learning how to regulate your emotions while trying to keep your child's emotions regulated. You're learning how to get a routine down while also trying to be a mom or a wife or a friend, a sister. There's so many hats that us moms have to wear all the time. I mean, you're homeschooling and it's so fun and so enriching, but there's also, we still have to cook dinner or do laundry. Like there's still all these other hats we have to wear, and it can get very overwhelming. I know in my first year it was very, very overwhelming in certain aspects, and you just have to figure out what's going to work best for you and your family, and just take it day by day. If something doesn't work out, maybe try it one or two more times, and if it still doesn't work out, then maybe we just try something different. Like I've said before, we've changed curriculums, we changed our schedule, our routine. It almost takes a good solid year of homeschooling to kind of get that rhythm down. Going into the second year, you're going to be so much more confident. You're going to learn from your mistakes. And there's different seasons too. Like if you have littles, that can really feel like a lot. It almost feels like you're not accomplishing anything. You're tired. The house is in chaos. Laundry is piled up, and it can, I had a toddler while trying to homeschool a first grader, and it was rough and it was really hard, but we worked through it. We changed things, and we're growing. Our children are growing. Our family's doing great. So that's what I would recommend for your first year. Now, moving on to the fun stuff. Well, it's all fun stuff, but field trips. I love field trips. I wish that we could just do field trips every day in our community. We definitely could, but we do have to learn. Academics are important, right? So I said I was booked out until like the beginning of the year. So I'm a part of one group here that is strictly like they only do field trips. And then I'm part of another group, and all these groups are like, there's no fees or anything associated, just the fees of the cost of the field trip, of course. And so we kind of plan, like, for example, in October we have coming up, we're going to a pumpkin patch that is like a petting zoo. So pumpkins, fall time, Halloween, we celebrate Halloween. So that's always fun for the kids and for me. I love pumpkin patches. Love this time of year. It's my favorite. And then in November is Native American Heritage Month. And then we are going to I'm going to butcher this name. I'm so sorry. I'm slipping my mind. It's like a Cherokee reservation. We're going to go learn about the culture and the heritage and explore there. There's like some museums there. It's going to be really cool. And then in December, we have a few things going on. Let me back up. In November also, we do have what we're calling a passion project. I actually came up with this idea. In school, you have science projects or like writing projects, and I thought it would be so cool for our homeschool community to have an opportunity to show off and showcase just like what they're passionate about. It can be anything from science, history, art, a talent, anything. So like anything that you're passionate about, and we're calling it the Passion Project, and it's going to give each child the opportunity to kind of showcase what they're passionate about and open the minds of adults and the other kids. And it's going to be a great time of like community and fellowship, and we're intertwining that with like a little Friendsgiving that we're doing with our group. And December we are candy cane making. I mean, it's the holidays. Like there's so much stuff in December. I'm pretty sure we have quite a few things. I don't know if I mentioned this before. We do take the whole month of December off school. It's just a busy time. I would rather, we don't take as long of a break in the summer. We kind of work through with small pockets of breaks. In December, we take the whole month off. That's just like our fun month. We do like a little study on reindeer anatomy. We've done like Christmas trees, lots of art projects. And then this year we're incorporating candy cane making at a local candy store. They have been so kind to like host us for a very low cost rate. So very thankful for that. And so that's what we have. There's a few at the beginning of the year, but it's like really slipping my mind at this moment. But yeah, we try to plan it around the curriculum sometimes, but mainly just like for the holiday of that month or that season. And then at home, I just try to find lessons that would like correlate with the field trip coming up. So that is our experience. We've had so many great field trips so far. We did a local aquarium. We did a manatee sanctuary where we learned about manatees. We've done the zoo, a lot of animal outside, a lot of nature hikes, learning about different plants. So we've definitely had a lot of fun towards the end of last year, and we're excited for what's to come. We've already went on a few field trips this year already, and then we have so much coming up, and then the holiday season, and just approaching that busy time of year. And it's just my favorite time of year because there's so many things to do and explore and learn. And so that is a glimpse into, or more detailed into, our field trips and how we handle those. And sometimes it's just us getting together at the park, a simple, just outside, let the kids play, get some energy out, go on a little nature hike. And sometimes that's just all the kids need. I feel like sometimes us adults, we overcomplicate it, which, I mean, I'm guilty of that. And don't get me wrong, I thrive on, these reservations and the aquariums. Like, you can incorporate so much learning in those things, but sometimes kids just want to be kids too. So we always have to remember that they're little still. Mine are still little still. So sometimes it's just a simple play date or a beach day or a hike around a state park, and it's just as rewarding and makes them happy, and it's just good for everyone. So that's how we manage that. And I have enjoyed talking so much about homeschool with you, and it has been great conversations, and I'm so excited to hear more.
Okay, this field trip schedule you just shared is going to be gold for someone. Like, you could just take those ideas and have the field trips done. Like, find the places in your local community and be done. So I'm grateful for that. I'm going to re-listen to that voice note and put those ideas into my later list note catcher type thing that I have, that I'm building out in Notion. But yeah, thank you. Okay, so let's go to like the final couple things. Is if there's anything that we didn't get to chat about that you wanted to talk about, definitely let's chat about that now. And then after that, where can people find you? How should they stay in touch? Do you have anything coming up that you want folks to know about? And that will be the end of our chat. Thanks.
Yes, Erica, I think that we covered a lot. I think we really honed in on a lot of big and the most important topics of homeschooling, especially if you're new to homeschooling. And I've also learned a lot from you as well. So I feel like we both got a lot of knowledge out of this conversation. As far as social media goes, I am on Instagram and TikTok. I will say the last few months I have really took a step back on posting on social media. I do intend on posting more frequently here soon. I just felt like I needed like a refresh just from social media in general. I took like a few months break, and I feel like my mind is more refreshed. I was able to focus in on some important topics of homeschooling that we were working on and some personal goals that I was working on. So yeah, so my handle on Instagram and TikTok are the same. It's rooted.inlearning. Just love that. I feel like right now in this season, I'm definitely rooted in learning. Not only are my children learning, but myself, I'm learning things every day, every time we do science or history. And, sometimes I feel like I'm learning more new facts and important facts and dates on important topics in history. And also, relearning math and language arts, because it's in your brain, but you're not using it every day. It's so easy to forget. So yeah, those are my two social media handles that I am a part of. And like I said, I do intend on posting more frequently here more often. And as far as anything else I have planned, yeah, for the last month and a half, me and some moms have been very busy. I did get the approval to talk about this very briefly with them, but we have been focusing on starting a homeschool co-op in our community. So that's just going to focus on history, science, and art, and free play, of course. So I'm really excited about this new journey and this new chapter of homeschooling. This is most definitely untouched territory for me, so I can't really give too much perspective on it. I'm just now getting my feet wet. I will be posting on my socials within the next coming months of like where you can find us and help support our mission on this next journey. But as far as that, I hope that people reach out, look at some of the content and resources that I've already posted. I have posted some earlier in the year, but I did take, again, I took time off to really focus on this journey. And social media, as we all know, can just be like an easy distraction and doom scrolling. It's just sometimes it's just not good for your mental health, and it just takes time away from your day. So that is where you can find me, and I look forward to many of you. If I spoke about anything that you want to discuss further, just reach out to me on via one of my socials, and I'll be glad to have an open conversation with you guys.
Awesome, Tiffany. Thank you so much again, and congrats on the new co-op that's coming soon. Please definitely share the link to that when it's ready. I can always go back and like retroactively add it to the show notes. So I'd be more than happy to do that. And also for you and your co-founders, definitely check out a few of my other guests on this podcast. Started their own co-ops and have like really successful co-ops going. So definitely use that as a resource to be happy to. I have not started a co-op, although I am on the board of a brand new co-op. So I have some insight to first year and how that's going. So yeah, let me know. Thank you so much again for all that you've shared. This will be our last message for the podcast, but let's definitely keep in touch, keep chatting, and thanks so much again for everything. Bye.